Did Fox Kids secretly have better action shows than the ones everyone still talks about? While Spider-Man and X-Men became legends, a whole lineup of bizarre, risky, and surprisingly intense shows quietly vanished from memory. Some had giant robots, monster battles, mutant heroes, alien conspiracies, and live-action madness that felt too strange for Saturday morning. Today, we're digging up 15 forgotten Fox Kids action shows, and number 1 may be the biggest surprise of all. Alienators, Evolution Continues, 2001. This was the cartoon nobody expected to survive its own movie. Alienators, Evolution Continues came from the strange sci-fi comedy film Evolution, but Fox Kids tried to turn that oddball alien concept into a full Saturday morning action machine. Instead of just repeating the movie, the show pushed the threat bigger: fast-mutating alien organisms, weird monster designs, government panic, and a team of misfit heroes trying to stop Earth from being overrun one bizarre creature at a time. What made it so strange was the tone. It had comedy, but it also had the structure of a monster hunting action series, almost like a kid's version of Men in Black mixed with a creature feature. The aliens did not feel like normal cartoon villains. They felt unpredictable, gross, and constantly evolving. That gave the show a fun sense of danger. But because the original film was not exactly a childhood-defining classic, the cartoon never had the emotional anchor other Fox Kids shows enjoyed. It arrived, mutated quickly, and vanished. Still, for viewers who caught it, Alienators was proof that even a forgotten movie spin-off could become surprisingly wild television. Eek! Stravaganza, The Terrible Thunder Lizards, 1993. Fox Kids once hid a ridiculous action show inside a comedy cartoon, and somehow it worked. The Terrible Thunder Lizards began as part of the Eek universe, but it felt like someone smuggled a sci-fi war parody into Saturday morning television. Instead of cute heroes learning lessons, this segment followed heavily armed dinosaur commandos trying to eliminate two tiny cavemen before humanity could evolve and replace dinosaur kind. That premise is already absurd, but the action gave it a chaotic personality. The Thunder Lizards fired oversized weapons, charged through prehistoric landscapes, and treated every mission like a military operation destined to go wrong. The joke was that all their power, technology, and aggression could not defeat two clueless little humans who barely understood what was happening. That made the segment feel sharper than a normal kids' cartoon. It was action, but action with a strange satirical bite. For younger viewers, it was just dinosaurs and explosions. For older viewers, it was a hilarious failure machine. The reason it deserves a place here is simple. The Terrible Thunder Lizards was too weird to become mainstream, but too memorable to be dismissed as just another cartoon segment. The Secret Files of the Spy Dogs, 1998. Before every cartoon needed a cinematic universe, Fox Kids gave secret agent dogs their own underground war. The Secret Files of the Spy Dogs looked silly on the surface, but the idea was surprisingly loaded with action potential. Ordinary household pets were secretly part of a hidden intelligence network, protecting the world while humans remained completely clueless. That gave the series a fun double life. One moment, a dog might look like a harmless family pet, and the next, it was involved in espionage, secret missions, bizarre villains, alien threats, and covert operations. The show worked because it turned familiar animals into action heroes without losing the absurd comedy of the concept. There were gadgets, disguises, secret bases, global missions, and enough spy parody energy to make it feel like a kid-friendly riff on Mission Impossible or James Bond. But its biggest problem was timing. By the late 90s, Fox Kids was crowded with bigger brands, louder heroes, anime imports, and superhero franchises. Spy Dogs had a clever hook, but not a massive, toy-ready identity. That is why it faded. Still, it remains one of those shows that sounds fake until someone proves it actually aired. Los Luchadores, 2001. This was Fox Kids going completely off the rails in the most colorful way possible. Los Luchadores was a live-action superhero action comedy built around masked wrestlers, comic book villains, strange monsters, and lucha libre energy. It did not feel like a normal Fox Kids action show. It felt like Batman from the 60s collided with Power Rangers, then got thrown into a wrestling ring under neon lights. The heroes wore masks, fought criminals, and protected their city from threats that were often ridiculous, theatrical, and proudly low budget. But that was part of the charm. The show knew it was campy, and instead of hiding that, it leaned into the madness. Every fight had a stunt show quality. Every villain looked like they had escaped from a strange Saturday morning fever dream. The action was not sleek or serious, but it had personality. Unfortunately, Los Luchadores arrived near the end of the Fox Kids era, when the block was already losing its identity. That made the show feel like a strange final experiment rather than the start of a franchise. It disappeared quickly, but its weirdness gives it real forgotten gem power today. Sometimes the strangest shows age better than the safe ones. NASCAR Racers, 1999. Fox Kids looked at stock car racing and somehow decided it needed rocket engines, death tracks, and corporate warfare. NASCAR Racers was not just a cartoon about cars going in circles. It transformed racing into a futuristic action battlefield where Team Fast X battled the ruthless Team RexCorp across impossible tracks filled with loops, jumps, hazards, and high-speed sabotage. That was the hook. It took a real-world sport and exaggerated it until it felt like science fiction. The cars were sleek, the courses were dangerous, and the racing scenes had a video game intensity that made them feel different from normal sports cartoons. It also had that late 90s obsession with extreme branding, where every character looked designed to become an action figure, a poster, or a collectible card. For kids who cared nothing about actual NASCAR, the show still offered speed, rivalry, crashes, and villainous cheating. But its concept was also its limitation. It sat in a strange middle lane, too futuristic for traditional racing fans, too sports-focused for viewers who wanted pure superhero adventure. That may be why it never became a giant. Still, NASCAR Racers deserves respect for turning the racetrack into a war zone before most cartoons even tried. Galador, Defenders of the Outer Dimension, 2002. This may be one of the strangest live-action experiments Fox Kids ever aired. Galador. Defenders of the Outer Dimension came backed by LEGO, but it did not look like the LEGO world most kids understood. Instead of brick-built cities or colorful construction fantasy, it delivered a live-action sci-fi adventure full of green-screen worlds, alien creatures, digital effects, and a teenager named Nick Bluetooth traveling through the outer dimension. The central gimmick was glitching, his ability to swap body parts with alien or robotic components, which made the show feel like a toy commercial, a superhero origin story, and a surreal sci-fi quest all at once. That weirdness made it fascinating, but also confusing. Kids expecting traditional LEGO imagination got a bizarre dimensional adventure. Viewers wanting polished sci-fi got early 2002 effects that could feel awkward even then. But that is exactly why Galador is unforgettable to the small group who remember it. It arrived near the end of Fox Kids, almost like a final swing at something huge. It did not become the next big franchise, but as a forgotten action oddity, it might be more interesting now than it was back then. The Avengers, United They Stand, 1999. Before the Avengers became the biggest superheroes on Earth, Fox Kids gave them a strange armored detour almost nobody remembers. The Avengers, United They Stand arrived at a time when Marvel Animation was already famous for Spider-Man and X-Men, but this show made one risky choice. It pushed the most famous Avengers to the side. Instead of building around Iron Man, Captain America, or Thor, the series focused on Ant-Man, Wasp, Hawkeye, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Tigra, and Wonder Man. That alone made it feel unusual, almost like a secret backup version of the Marvel Universe. The action leaned heavily into futuristic suits, tech upgrades, flying vehicles, energy blasts, and toy-friendly armor. The heroes fought major threats like Ultron and Kang, but the show never had the same emotional weight or iconic status as Fox's other Marvel cartoons. For kids who found it randomly on Saturday morning, it felt exciting, but also oddly disconnected from the Marvel shows they already knew. That is why it disappeared into the background. Still, there is something fascinating about it now. It captured a world before the Avengers were untouchable pop culture royalty. This was Marvel experimenting, stumbling, and trying to make lesser-known heroes feel huge. And that makes it a forgotten piece of superhero history. Cyber9, New Dawn, 1999. This was the kind of cartoon that felt like it belonged in a bigger, darker universe than Saturday Morning could handle. Cyber9. New Dawn dropped viewers into a ruined future where civilization had collapsed into wastelands, machines, tyrants, and scattered survivors. At the center was Jack, a young hero who inherited Cyber9, a sentient superweapon that looked like a sword but carried the intelligence and power of lost technology. That single idea gave the show a strong mythic hook, a boy with a living weapon trying to change the fate of a broken world. The action mixed swordplay, cybernetic villains, desert chases, strange kingdoms, and post-apocalyptic danger. It felt more ambitious than many Fox Kids shows, almost like it wanted to be Star Wars, Mad Max, and fantasy adventure at the same time. But that ambition may have hurt it. The show was darker, more serialized, and less instantly simple than the average action cartoon. Fox Kids aired only part of it before it faded from the schedule, leaving many viewers with half-remembered images rather than a complete story. That unfinished feeling became part of its mystery. Cyber9 was not just forgotten, it felt interrupted, like a lost epic that never got the childhood attention it deserved.
The Vision of Escaflowne, 2000. Fox Kids once tried to turn one of anime's most elegant fantasy epics into a Saturday morning action weapon, and the result became one of the strangest experiments of the block's final years. The Vision of Escaflowne followed Hitomi, a schoolgirl pulled into the mysterious world of Gia, where kingdoms, destiny, dragons, and giant armored machines called Gaimalevs collided in a war much bigger than she could understand. On paper, it had everything Fox Kids loved: sword fights, flying mecha, fantasy danger, heroic rebellion, and a young audience-friendly Portal World hook. But Escaflowne was not built like a simple action cartoon. It was emotional, romantic, mystical, and surprisingly mature in its storytelling. That created a fascinating problem. Fox Kids edited the series heavily, changed parts of the presentation, and aired only a limited run before it disappeared, making it feel less like a normal cartoon and more like a half-remembered broadcast mystery. Still, even in its altered form, the show had a visual power that stood out. Dragon battles, tragic kingdoms, glowing armor, and a sense that viewers were watching something deeper than the usual toy-driven adventure. Escaflowne did not fit Fox Kids perfectly, and that is exactly why it deserves this spot. It was too ambitious, too strange, and too haunting to be forgotten.
Masked Rider, 1995.
Fox Kids tried to create another Power Rangers-style obsession, but this one slipped through the cracks almost overnight. Masked Rider followed Prince Dex, an alien warrior from Edenoi who comes to Earth after receiving heroic powers and hiding with a human family. The show was Saban's American adaptation of Kamen Rider Black RX and aired on Fox Kids in the mid-90s, which made it feel like the next big tokusatsu gamble after Power Rangers. The action had everything Fox Kids viewers recognized: monster attacks, transformation poses, martial arts fights, strange villains, dramatic speeches, and toy-friendly upgrades. But Masked Rider also had a weirder tone. One moment it wanted to be an alien superhero epic. The next, it leaned into goofy family sitcom comedy with Dex trying to understand Earth customs. That tonal clash made it memorable, but also confusing. It had the suits, the explosions, and the Saturday morning energy, yet it never became the powerhouse Saban wanted. Still, as a forgotten Fox Kids action show, Masked Rider is perfect. It is not just a failed spin-off. It is a snapshot of the 90s moment when every network thought the next armored hero could become the next childhood religion.
Big Guy and Rusty the Boy Robot, 1999. This was giant robot action with a secret twist. The real heart of the show was not the machine, but the boy robot standing beside it. Big Guy and Rusty the Boy Robot was based on the Dark Horse comic by Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow, and Fox Kids turned it into a fast, colorful, monster-smashing adventure. The setup was instantly powerful. Big Guy looked like Earth's greatest robotic defender, a massive, patriotic battle machine built to fight kaiju, aliens, and impossible threats. But inside, he was actually piloted by a human. Rusty, meanwhile, was a true advanced robot with emotions, innocence, and the desperate desire to become a hero. That contrast gave the action an emotional engine. Every battle had spectacle, city destruction, mutant beasts, laser fire, military panic, and massive metal fists. But the show also had a surprisingly sweet mentor relationship. Rusty wanted to prove himself, while Big Guy represented the old-school heroic ideal he looked up to. The series had energy, humor, and comic book scale, but it never became a household name like other Fox Kids properties. Maybe it was too odd, maybe too short-lived, or maybe just buried in a crowded lineup. Either way, Big Guy and Rusty remains one of Fox Kids' most underrated action shows, loud, sincere, and far better than most people remember. Mystic Knights of Tir Na Nog, 1998. Fox Kids once tried to build its own fantasy empire, and somehow the result felt like Power Rangers had wandered into an ancient Celtic legend. Mystic Knights of Tir Na Nog was not adapted from a Japanese series like many Saban hits. That alone made it bold. It was an original live-action fantasy adventure inspired by Irish mythology, filled with castles, enchanted armor, fire swords, monsters, queens, dragons, and elemental heroes. The story followed 4 young warriors chosen to protect the kingdom of Kells from the evil Queen Maeve, who unleashed dark magic and strange creatures to destroy them. Each mystic knight controlled a different element: fire, water, earth, or air, giving the show a clean heroic identity that kids could instantly understand. The action had that late 90s Fox Kids flavor: dramatic poses, rubber suit monsters, magical weapons, practical effects, and battles that felt theatrical but exciting. What made it special was the setting. Instead of city streets or alien planets, it gave viewers misty forests, ancient ruins, medieval danger, and a mythology rarely used in children's action TV. It did not become the massive franchise Saban probably hoped for, but that is why it feels fascinating now. Mystic Knights was ambitious, strange, and sincere, a forgotten fantasy gamble that deserved more than one season. Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, 1997. This was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles era that many fans either forgot, ignored, or still argue about. Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation brought the Turtles into live action, giving Fox Kids a costumed martial arts series that looked like it belonged somewhere between Power Rangers and comic book chaos. The show continued the turtle craze in a very late 90s way: rubber suits, exaggerated villains, sewer hideouts, goofy comedy, monster fights, and fast-paced battles designed for kids who wanted action every few minutes. Its biggest twist was the introduction of Venus de Milo, a 5th turtle with mystical powers, a change that instantly made the series controversial among longtime fans. Instead of feeling like a clean continuation of the classic cartoon, The Next Mutation felt like a strange alternate branch of turtle history. The action was colorful and energetic, but the tone was lighter, weirder, and often more chaotic than fans expected. Yet that same weirdness gives it nostalgia value today. It captured a moment when studios were still experimenting with how far a beloved franchise could be stretched on television. Was it the best Turtles show? Not really. But was it unforgettable once you saw it? Absolutely. The Next Mutation may be messy, but it is the kind of messy Saturday morning experiment that only the Fox Kids era could produce. Big Bad Beetleborgs, 1996. Before superhero movies took over the planet, Fox Kids gave children one of the strangest wish-fulfillment action shows of the 90s. Big Bad Beetleborgs had a premise that felt made to hijack a kid's imagination. 3 ordinary kids enter a haunted mansion, meet a wild ghost named Flabber, and accidentally wish their favorite comic book heroes into real life, including themselves as armored Beetleborgs. That was the magic. The show combined monster comedy, superhero action, haunted house weirdness, and Japanese tokusatsu footage into one bizarre package. One moment, the kids were dealing with goofy mansion monsters. The next, they were in metallic armor battling giant villains and explosive threats. Unlike Power Rangers, Beetleborgs leaned harder into spooky comedy and comic book fantasy, which gave it a completely different flavor. The Haunted Mansion characters made the show feel playful, while the Beetleborg battles gave it enough action to keep kids hooked. It was loud, colorful, strange, and impossible to confuse with anything else. The reason it lands so high is simple. It understood childhood fantasy better than most action shows. Who did not want to open a comic book and become the hero inside it? Big Bad Beetleborgs may be remembered as a Power Rangers cousin, but honestly, its weird identity made it stand proudly on its own. Godzilla, the series, 1998. The biggest surprise on this list is that one of Fox Kids' best action cartoons came from one of the most criticized monster movies of the decade, Godzilla. The series continued the story after the American Godzilla film, but instead of repeating the movie's mistakes, it quietly fixed many of them. The show followed a surviving baby Godzilla who bonded with scientist Nick Tatopoulos and became the unlikely protector of Earth. That single change transformed the concept. Suddenly, Godzilla was not just a confused animal running through a city, he was a powerful monster hero battling other mutations across the world. Every episode felt like a creature feature mission. The human team, known as HEAT, investigated strange threats while Godzilla fought giant worms, mutated insects, alien creatures, sea monsters, and biological nightmares that gave the series real variety. The action had scale. The monster designs were creative, and the pacing made it feel like a weekly kaiju movie for kids. What makes it so memorable now is the irony. The film disappointed many fans, but the cartoon understood the fun of Godzilla better than expected. It gave viewers monster battles, adventure, danger, and a heroic giant lizard worth cheering for. That is why Godzilla, the series, deserves number one. It was not just a forgotten Fox Kids show. It was a redemption story in animated form. Fox Kids did not just give us superheroes, it gave us strange experiments, risky ideas, and action shows that felt too weird to survive. Some vanished because timing was bad. Others were buried under bigger franchises. But looking back now, these forgotten shows prove one thing. Saturday morning TV was wilder, braver, and far more unpredictable than we remembered.